By October of 2016, hundreds of sightings of killer clowns peppered areas of the United States, Canada, Europe, and other parts of the world. The vast majority of these sightings were designed to be pranks to elicit a response out of their victims, with very few incidences leading to criminal activity. Still, the resulting reports caused a public outcry, which resulted in warnings from law enforcement and businesses withdrawing clown costumes from their stock. Gross exaggerations of a so-called clown purge began to circulate, but by the end of 2016, very few deaths were actually linked to perpetrators wearing clown paraphernalia. With that said, here's 5 real cases of deadly killer clown attacks. May 26, 1990. Marlene Warren was a well-off car dealership owner who was married to Michael Warren. Both of them had a son named David. At home, Marlene heard a knock at her door and stopped to answer it. It was there that Marlene was surprised by the sight of a male figure dressed up as a clown, complete with balloons and a bunch of flowers. It was at this point that the clown reached into the bouquet of flowers and pulled out a handgun, firing 2 shots into the face of Marlene. Then he left the balloons and flowers and fled the scene. Marlene's son, hearing the gunshots, ran downstairs to see his mother bleeding out and saw the man in the clown costume get into a white Chrysler LeBaron and leave. Police began a heavy investigation, finding the Chrysler that left the murder scene in an abandoned parking lot. Forensics found fibers of orange hairs for a clown wig that Marlene's son identified as the same color of the wig worn by the murderer. Tracing where the wig was originally purchased from, a party store employee identified Sheila Keene as the person who purchased the wig and a clown costume. Sheila Keene was working under Marlene's husband Michael at the time and is believed by police to be his mistress. Both her and Michael had alibis at the time that placed them away from the scene of the murder. Unfortunately, due to lack of evidence, police were unable to prosecute them, although they still remain suspects to this day. The case remains unsolved. On February 2, 2006, 18-year-old Jacob Probita stepped into a popular gay nightclub located in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Jacob, prior to going out, had used black and white face paint to give himself the appearance of a juggalo clown from the popular rap group The Insane Clown Posse. He also had dyed his hair and beard bright orange. Producing a false ID, Jacob proceeded to order a drink from the bartender on duty. As he finished it, he asked the bartender if the place he was in was really a, quote, gay bar. The bartender nodded his head over the loud music and confirmed it to Jacob. Jacob suddenly pulled out a hatchet and attacked a random person. Seeing what was happening, the patrons of the bar immediately jumped on top of Jacob and tackled him to the floor. Trying to pull the hatchet out of his hand, they also found Jacob had a machete under his clothing. While trying to wrestle the bladed weapons from his grasp, the 18-year-old male pulled out a gun from his pants leg and began to fire it wildly. 3 bar-goers were struck by gunfire but managed to survive as Jacob fled the scene. A manhunt for Jacob began as police raided the home of Jacob's mother, where they found multiple weapons including additional hatchets, handguns, several knives, and a shotgun. 2 days later, police cornered Jacob Probita when they identified his 1999 green Pontiac at an Arkansas traffic stop. He attempted to flee the scene as he traded gunfire with police. After a harrowing 18-mile chase, it all came to a close when Jacob took his handgun and shot a companion he had in his vehicle, 33-year-old Jennifer Bailey, and then he shot himself. Insane Clown Posse's manager, Alex Abyss, responded to Jacob's actions, condemning them on behalf of the rap group and extending condolences to the victims of Jacob Probita. Sunday night, September 25, 2016, Christian Torres, a 16-year-old high school student, was lounging on his front porch with his friends when they were approached by a male figure wearing a clown mask in the early evening hours. An altercation took place and Christian was attacked with a knife by the unknown male. The 16-year-old was stabbed multiple times fatally. 2 of Christian's friends were also assaulted by the masked man but only suffered minor injuries. Police investigations eventually identified 29-year-old Avery Valentine Blair as a suspect in the attack. After failure to appear in court for an unrelated charge, Avery was arrested and also charged for the first-degree murder of Christian Torres. He is currently awaiting trial. John Letham was a 32-year-old male who owned a deli shop called Delicious Deli, located in Clydebank, Dunbartonshire, in the United Kingdom. On March 19th, 15-year-old Paige Doherty entered the shop to get a breakfast roll and asked about applying for work. What exactly happens at this point is up for question, as Letham was the last person to see Paige alive. According to Letham's lawyer, Paige was brought into the back of the deli shop to discuss a work application. Due to her young age, she claimed that John would have to speak with Paige's mother about it and that there were other candidates for the position. Letham then claimed that Paige threatened him with a child molestation charge of touching her in an inappropriate manner if she was not rewarded the job. This scenario is according to John Letham and may not be fact. What is documented as true is John attacked Paige shortly after he brought the schoolgirl to the back of his shop with a knife, stabbing her more than 61 times. After the murder, John immediately closed his deli and borrowed trash bags and bleach from a business next door, heavily cleaning the blood from the tiled floors, and moved Paige's body to his car, which was caught on CCTV cameras. John then reopened the shop where he managed and served customers until closing. John transferred Paige's body to his garden shed before dumping the body in the woods off of Loch Lomond next day. After police discovered the body of the teen, CCTV cameras showed John Letham's deli as the last stop of Paige Doherty, with the girl never exiting the shop. The night before the murder of Paige Doherty, John and his wife went to a costume party together. Both were dressed as clowns, where he made several off-color remarks about stabbing people for fun. John Letham is currently serving a 27-year sentence in connection to the murder of Paige Doherty. Francisco Rafael Arellano Felix was a former Mexican drug lord and former leader of the Tijuana cartel. Arrested several times by both Mexican and United States authorities in connection to drug trafficking and slaying of rival cartel members, Francisco had a long list of enemies. His main task in the cartel was overseeing buying and selling of narcotics within the United States. After being released from a U.S. prison, Francisco was deported back to Mexico, where he moved to Los Cabos, a resort town located in the Baja California peninsula. Living there with his wife and under a false name, Francisco enjoyed an upper-class lifestyle. On October 18, 2013, Francisco was with his wife and children as they celebrated his 64th birthday at a beachfront banquet hall called Ocean House. His birthday party had over 100 guests, including notable Mexican politicians, celebrities, and musical performers. Shortly after 8 p.m., a man dressed in a clown costume entered the party and quickly identified Francisco and walked towards him. When he was less than 3 feet away from Francisco, the clown reached into his pocket and pulled out a .57 pistol and opened fire. The first few shots were direct hits into the former drug lord's head, with several more rounds hitting into his torso as he fell to the floor. Party guests ran from the scene after realizing what just occurred. The man in the clown costume ran out the back to a waiting black-colored SUV, firing his gun wildly in the air to deter witnesses from following him, as the vehicle sped off towards the main highway. Francisco died from his wounds immediately, and while the case has never been officially solved, some arrests have been made in connection, including Manuel Galindo, a founder of the Tijuana cartel and money launderer. Police believe Francisco's assassination was largely in part due to unpaid old debts and old retributions. With multiple suspects and possible motives, this could be a case that could take a very long time to be solved. While these stories I have presented are very much documented and real, the vast majority of murders involving killer clowns are simply works of hype and fiction that are designed to prey on your emotions. Frankly, you'd have a better chance of dying to heart disease or cancer before a clown ends your life. The World Clown Association is a worldwide organization for jugglers, magicians, professional face painters, and professional clowns, which holds a yearly annual convention in the United States. President Randy Christensen has voiced disapproval of the recent trend of the 2016 clown sightings. In my opinion, these horror characters are not clowns. They are taking something innocent and wholesome and perverting it to create fear in the audience. We hope that the world realizes there's different categories in entertainment and that clowns are meant to be positive. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time on Horrors, Freaks, and Creeps.